All right, here we go with 5th grade Excel, lesson 40. It's going to be a lot, so we're going to get cooking here. We're going to be looking at some bar graphs and line graphs and histograms. Up to now, the graphs you have been working on displayed only one set of data. That means there's one thing happening on that graph. The graphs on this lesson show how to compare two or more sets of data. For bar graphs, the bars are grouped together. The different sets will have different colors or designs to set them apart. For line graphs, the lines will also be different, so you can distinguish between them. All right, so here we go. How many more days did Gail work in January than Shawn did? What we have here is the months of the year along the bottom, January, February, March, April, May. Along the side, it says how many days that they worked. So this is 5 at this line, 10 at this line, 15, 20, and 25. Then we have a little key down here at the bottom. Paul is the blue bar, Gail is the yellow bar, and Shawn is the black bar. So what we have to do is just find out where this information is that they're asking us to solve. It says, how many more days did Gail work in January than Shawn did? Well, here's January right here. We're comparing Gail and Shawn. Gail is the yellow one, so we go up to the top of this yellow one and over, and that means that Gail worked 20 in January, 20 days. And Shawn worked, he's black right here, up to the top of this one and over, that's 10. So how many more did Gail work than Shawn? We have to subtract 20 minus 10 is 10. 10 days. Everybody write that on your paper, show your work just like this. Put the answer right there, including the label. Pause the video if I'm going too fast for you. And actually, I want you to go ahead and pause the video and try number 2 now on your own anyway. All right, you should have already done number 2. It says, how many days did Paul and Shawn work in May? Here's May. Paul is the blue one. He worked 15. Shawn worked 5. And so how many did they work together? Basically, it's asking is 15 plus 5. Always show your work. 15 plus 5 is 20. So together they worked 20 days. Hopefully you got that one right. All right, here is a line graph. How much cooler was it on the 2nd day of June in 2000 than in 2001? Well, let's take a look first at the graph, and so I can explain to you how it works here. Days are down at the bottom. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, 5, 6, and 7. This line right here is day 1. This line here, day 2, and so on. Across the side is the temperature in centigrade. It says high temperature during the first week in June. And so these are Celsius temperatures. They're in centigrade. And so on since this is June, this must be June 1st. And on June 1st in, it's the first week of June, so it's the first 7 days of June. 2000 is represented by this dotted line with the small dots. So you can see the dots going along like this, and that's in the year 2000 what happened in the first week of June. The solid line is in 2001, and you can see that going along right here. And then 2002 is the bigger dotted line along like that. So let's take a look at how we figure out the data on here. On June 1st in 2000, the temperature would have been right here. You go straight up from the June 1st, right over there where that dotted line is, and that means it was 26 degrees on June 1st in the year 2000. 2001, the solid line, we come up and it was 25 degrees. And then in 2002, go up from the 1, it was 24 degrees. All right, now let's try to solve this first problem. How much cooler was it on the 2nd day of June in 2000 than in 2001? Here's the 2nd day of June. We're going to go up to where the temperature was in 2000, which is the little dotted line, and that would be right there. See the dotted lines coming down here? It crosses right there. So it was 24 degrees in 2000. And then 2001, that's the solid line. We go up from the 2 here to the solid line, directly up from it, and it was 26 degrees. To figure out how much cooler it is, of course, we're going to subtract. So you do 26 minus 24, 2 degrees, and you put the label on there. So Now what I'd like you to do is go ahead and see if you can solve number 4 by yourself, and then pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear everything off of here. So hopefully you have that. You can back up the video if you don't have it, so we can have a nice clean board. It says, how much warmer was it on the 3rd day of June in 2002 than in 2000? Here's the 3rd day of June, and in 2002, that's the big dotted line. That would put us here, 26 degrees. And then 2000, that's the little dotted line. Up from the 3rd, you can see the dotted line comes right down into here, and that's 22 degrees. It says how much warmer was it? So we have to subtract and figure out that it was 4 degrees warmer. 4 degrees with a C. All right, so hopefully you got that one right, and we're moving along. Another type of graph is called a histogram. This type of graph is used when you want to group your data. In the example, the data excuse me. The data is the amount of time it took students to complete a math test. Begin by putting the information into a tally chart. This is a tally chart. You need to know the least amount of time and the greatest amount of time. This is the range of data. So the smallest number would be maybe 0 minutes or something, and the largest number is maybe 25 minutes. That's the range. Next, decide how you will break the range down into equal parts. So since the range in this set of data is about 25, from the smallest to the biggest, 25, that's the range. Since the range is 25, the person decided, I'm going to break this into 5 chunks of 5. So from 0 to 5, from 6 to 10, from 11 to 15, 16 to 20, and 21 to 25. Each one of these is a group of 5. All right? For this example, we use 5-minute intervals, just like they mentioned here. And then what they did is they figured out that there was one kid that did between 0 and 5 minutes, 3 kids that did between 6 and 10, 6 that did between 11 and 15, and so on. That's what these tallies out here mean. Now, what do we do with the tallies? We take the tallies and we turn it into a histogram. And here's the histogram. We put the ranges down here at the bottom, the intervals, 0 to 5, 6 to 10 here, 11 to 15, and so on. And then this says number of students along the side. So there was 1 from 0 to 5, so they colored this in up to 1 student. 3 students for 6 to 10, they colored it in up to 3 students, like that. 11 to 15, they colored it in up to 6, because there are 6. 16 to 20 colored into 5 because there's 5 students that did somewhere between 16 and 20, and 4 students for 21 to 25, so they colored it in up to there. It says write 3 statements about the information in this graph. How might this information help your teacher? All right, go ahead and write 3 statements for this. Let me get this cleared off here. I want you to write 3 statements somewhere around in your paper. You got some space here, or whatever, wherever you can turn your paper sideways and kind of write like this. But go ahead and write those 3 statements on your paper. What does this histogram tell you about how much time kids needed to complete their math test? Pause the video to do that. Turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. All right. So what I would have said is that most kids in the class are going to need, one of my statements, most students need 20 minutes. I would also say that more students need 11 or more minutes than need 10 or less. Okay, and you can make other statements like that, like only one student needed less than 5 minutes. You could say maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 students needed more than 16 minutes. Anything like that will work for a statement about the information on the graph. How might this information help your teacher? Well, The teacher knows that they probably want to give the kids 25 minutes to do that test, but at 25 minutes they're going to have a lot of kids that need something else to do to keep busy. All right, and this page is not on your lesson, but we're going to go over this, and I'm going to have you make sure you're watching this, because at the end of this I'm going to ask you to write something on your paper that shows that you were paying attention, or I might ask it somewhere along the way. So make sure you're paying attention to all of this. Here's another histogram. This is a tally chart to put the information in the histogram over here on the right side. And so I want you to think about how you would take this information and put it onto that histogram. Pause the video. I know you don't have this anyplace, but just pause the video and think about how you're going to put that onto here. And then after you've thought of it, turn the video back on, and I'm going to show you how you actually do that. All right, so what you should have done, or what you should have thought of, is that between 1 and 10, there's 2 students. So you only color it in up to here. And then down in the bottom, we have to write 1 to 10 minutes. And then over here, we have to write 11. I bet some of you forgot to write this stuff in the bottom, huh? We have to have this in here. Otherwise, these bars don't make any sense. And then here, 31 to 40. So the next one, we have 10. So you're going to color this in up to the 10 like that for 11 to 20. And then we have 2 on the next one. And then we have 4 on the last one, which is only up to here, because notice the numbers on the side, they go by 2s. All right, so that's what you should have done, and I want everybody to circle, actually draw a smiley face down at the end of your lesson, down in the corner. Down here, draw a little smiley face to show me that you've been paying attention to the lesson. And as you're drawing that smiley face, I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit. Go ahead and draw that on there, and if you don't have the smiley face on there tomorrow, you won't get a stamp. Make sure that you check other kids for that smiley face. If they don't have it, tell them they didn't watch the video and that they're going to have to miss their stamp for not doing their homework. So thank you very much for watching, and there we go. Okay.